Kim in 5, 4, 3.
Woo. All right. Woo! We have come a long way, haven't we? We are near the end of our season.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we've come a long way.
We have.
And we didn't just get here. I mean, it's been 30 years.
It's been 30 years.
32 and counting.
Yes. My God.
I got to tell you, I'm a little bit exhausted, but I'm excited. Rewatching all these episodes has been like a treasure chest, just opening up all these beautiful little goodies. It's been
and
good.
exhaustion looks good on you. You make exhaustion look good.
Thank you.
You know, we've had a lot of people come through. We've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, I think we should talk a little bit more about Yvette Lee Bowser. We've mentioned her.
Right.
A lot. But, you know, I think we can talk some more about her. She's the creator, writer of this show.
And at the time, her name was Yvette Denise Lee.
Yvette
they're talking about little old me before I was a Bowser.
Remember your first
I'm blushing.
of meeting Yvette?
Yeah, I do. My first impression of Yvette was that she was, you know, very pretty, very bright and joyful and funny and super smart. And I was excited that we were going to be doing this journey together. And I don't remember where we met. I don't remember if it was a breakfast or I think it was over a meal.
It was at my house, Kimmy Cat. And I remember because you had shrimp in your purse, it was lunch.
That's all I know. That was nice. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is the beginning of something amazing. And I felt like she had it.
Okay.
It?
Okay.
Sounds like a damn rash.
She also had a motto.
She did. It was like sort of a North Star vision of powerful female sistership. Or sisters.
Kim, they were enviable female friendships.
Yeah, something like that.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It was her thing.
It was.
Yeah.
What was your first impression of her?
All right. So I was in an audition. So I don't think I clearly sort of met her. And so I have to think back that the first time I met her is actually I heard her before I saw her because she has a laugh. It's unmistakable. And it's like more like a cackle, like a Macbeth cauldron witch cackle.
And she uses it a lot and very freely all the time.
All the time.
Yes, I know the cackle.
Why it gotta be a cackle?
Like, did y'all play that?
Was that Yvette, is that you? But can you hear us?
Yes, I've been watching y'all this whole time.
We didn't hear you.
Right, because this is the director's cut.
We have a director's cut?
How? How do we have a director's cut?
Is that like the DVD thing where, you know, you comment and we...
Well, I'm the creator of the show, so I do that. I pretty much do whatever I please. These are the perks.
Perks.
Okay, well, are you
Don't
coming
leave home
down?
without it.
Reporting for duty. Yeah, I'm coming. Let's do this.
Enlighten us. Be with us.
Yes. Show yourself. Yvette Lee Bowser.
Welcome
In
to our
the
little piece of the internet.
Hold that story. Hold this. Okay, you all, I need you guys to stop
Save it for the
talking.
show. Save it for the show.
Okay. Welcome back to Reliving Single, the official, unofficial Living Single Rewatch podcast. Kim, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. It's time for our friends to meet Yvette Lee Bowser.
Yvette, the icon, the boss, the history maker.
Come on. At just 27, she became the first Black woman to create and run a primetime series and the first Black female writer to launch 5 series: Living Single, The Wayans Brothers, Lush Life, For Your Love, and Half. She's a WGA award winner, a wife, a mom, and a baseball fan.
Listen, she wrote the blueprint before anybody handed her the pen. Hear me?
From Philly beginnings to breaking Hollywood's glass ceiling, she shares her stories, battles, and legacy that shaped her. If Living Single changed your life, meet the woman who changed that game.
Wow. She dreamed us up before the world was ready.
The creator, the writer, the real Maxine Shaw. Please bow down for Yvette Lee Bowser. Now look, she came with something.
She came
got something.
You know.
Wow. Yvette Lee Bowser is here, everybody. Woo!
Kimmy Cat.
Thank
The
you.
Mavericks.
Thank you.
We've come such a long way and you've had this amazing career. And for all of us at Living Single, we love you. We adore you. We're so glad that you're going to be here to tell your story. And we're so glad that you made it here.
That's
So,
right.
Of course.
That's right.
I've been really enjoying watching this show
Oh.
through your lens.
Thank
Thank
you.
Fascinating
you. I
and
appreciate
fun.
it.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I mean, you put pen to paper
Mhm.
and you created the way. And so we want to just level set and say, what is the origin story of how you come to Living Single?
I recently said that I came to create Living Single through a lot of adversity and perseverance. And that is my origin story.
Mm.
I was working in a very isolating situation, and I suddenly became very eager to create my own show so that I could create my own work environment.
Mm.
So women and people of color like myself could feel like they belonged in this industry, because I know that we belong in the world, and I know that we have a strong role and a lot to say
Come on.
and a lot to offer the world.
Come on.
Mhm.
So looking at the landscape of television and realizing that behind the scenes was not really for us, I knew that it was time that one of us created a show
Yeah. Yeah.
for us.
Wow.
That part.
The original FUBU. Hello.
Exactly.
In this space.
Exactly.
And then what happened? Then what had happened?
So I was working on a show, and it was my first year after the very cozy enclave that was A Different World. It was very female friendly, very
yeah.
you know,
Give it love.
Black friendly. It was all of the things. And I knew that that was a rare circumstance, but I didn't realize how hostile the rest of Hollywood was.
Mm.
That's really the
Mhm.
truth.
Okay.
So my first few months out, I came to know exactly kind of how unfriendly and how brutal it could be. But right after I left A Different World, I'd taken some general development meetings with executives around town. And one of those executives was a delightful young man named David Janulari, who worked at Warner Brothers.
Hello, David.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I told David Janulari, I thought I'd be ready to develop, in a year or two. I wanted to kind of just get on another show, see what that was like, be under some different kind of leadership, and just get a lay of the land, because I'd really only worked in this one environment. So I really didn't have any idea. And then 2 months into that situation, I went back to David. I said, I'm ready. It's time.
I'm ready now.
It's time.
Wow.
And by
How
that
did you know
time-
that you were
Free.
ready? How
Well,
did you know that you were
Because
ready?
the oppression was oppressing.
Meaning, she said, "Look, man, I let's make lemonade."
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, let's
exactly.
keep it moving.
And by that time, they had made talent holding deals with you and Dana.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, sounds like a Black girl party. I'm down. When I met them, I was like, they're amazing.
Yes,
I can absolutely create a show for them, about them, that's also about me and my
Mm.
friends, which I'd been doing for the past, the previous 5 years.
So you
on
say
a different world.
opportunity meets divine, boom, 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 put
Absolutely.
together, and then y'all on your way.
Absolutely. But I wasn't sitting at A Different World saying, oh, what am I going to do next? I was thinking, how can I continue to fuel this amazing environment and really be present for this opportunity? And it wasn't like, oh, you know what? I want to be in charge. It wasn't that at all. It really wasn't that at all. This opportunity came to me, and my readiness for it came out of necessity,
Mm.
because I felt like if people like me who come from where I come from are going to survive and thrive in this industry, I might just have to be the one to create the environment for that to happen more frequently,
That's
because where I was not it. It was
So
not it.
tell us
Powerful.
about that process. Like, I don't think many people know what it is to engage in something like that, and then for a show to not only, to go but be picked up and then be to series so quick. That's actually quite unusual.
that was something else.
Mhm,
I mean, I didn't have time to make anything up.
for
I'm
sure.
like, ooh, what's in my diary right now? What's my life right
Okay.
now? What do my friends look like right now? What do my friends mean to me right now? What processes, psychological, emotional, and social am I going through in my life right now?
For sure.
Which is why the show also feels like a continuation of A Different World, because it is life
The next step.
and it's
after-
fresh.
Where you are right
too.
now.
after college, some years later.
Right.
It's exactly that. After meeting them, I went back into my little cave, my little house, into my office there, and kind of cooked up the rest of the show.
Got to
And
work.
then I had to pitch it to them, which was
Okay.
very nerve-wracking.
Was
More
everybody-
nerve-wracking than
Was
this,
it?
actually.
And why was it nerve wracking?
Because it was the first time I'd pitched something on my own
Ah,
that was my life.
yeah.
So if I got a no, it was going to feel
Other
like
shows.
Oh.
massive rejection.
Right.
I mean, again, the guys, and you've spoken about how the guys are modeled after Kyle and Overton, the real Kyle, my husband, Overton, his best friend. This was
freaky.
This was like September of 1992. I met Kyle and fell in love with him in May.
Of what?
I didn't know
he was
that.
1992?
Correct.
And you put him in a show?
Absolutely.
You are generous.
It was my life in that moment.
What
I
if
told
you
you
would've
I had
broken
to
up?
be expeditious about this. I
Right.
had no
like that.
time
I
to
love-
make anything
But you
up.
also
that.
branded him with a show.
100%.
Wow.
100%.
You knew you were in love.
But I also unraveled all my other relationships and all my other business in
You
the
sure
show.
did.
That episode 4,
Generous.
You
We're
know.
going to talk about that.
right, the guy who packed his raggedy duffel bag
Right.
and left.
That's you. That's your life.
That's
wow.
top to bottom my life. So
And
I was
you're-
being what I feel very good writers are, which is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And pulling from your life experience and
100%.
pulling from what you already know so that you
Right.
can infuse it in the work. And so I
All
understand.
all these scenarios don't have to be exactly from your life, but
Right.
the emotion does.
Okay, got
for
it.
it to be true and for it
So-
to resonate.
But you told a little bit of story about this in the WGA. We all went when you got the Patty Chayefsky Award, and you talked about this period where you had a certain amount of time to get the script together and how you worked. And so can you tell us a little about that so people who hadn't watched that
100%.
can understand?
100%. I wrote the script. Everybody at the studio and the network was on board. There were a couple of drafts for sure.
Mhm.
And then it went through the process where the day-to-day executives end up giving it to the person at the top who gets to either say yay or nay, the person who gives the green light.
Mhm.
And that was when I met with resistance. They wanted a different pilot story because it was too much of a premise pilot, meaning that it was didn't feel like just any episode. It felt like we were just meeting these people. There were elements of that, which, anybody could have told me earlier in the process, but they didn't. It's fine.
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly what month it was, but I know I was given roughly 10 days, maybe 2 weeks to rewrite a whole new pilot.
Wow.
And during that time, this is the story that I shared at the
At the
WGA. I was like so determined to turn this thing around because going back to my previous job or anything that even had that kind of energy was not an option for me. I really felt like there's no place for me in this business unless I carve out this place. So I was very, very determined. So I literally stayed up for 3 days straight, the first 3 days. And my cousin, Lisa, who's one of the inspirations for
Lisa.
Sinclair,
Yes.
she came to me and she said, do you know that you're like psychologically, physiologically brain dead at this point? Like you cannot stay up this long. And I was like, yeah, I am starting to feel a little different, a little odd.
Wow.
And she and my husband, Kyle was like,
And he's just your boyfriend still.
he's
at this
just my
time.
boyfriend, but he's like, sweetie, we're laying you down.
Right.
With that deep voice.
That's true.
that Kyle
He's
Bowser
like,
has.
I'm taking over now.
Right,
You know.
exactly. So they put on some classical music and they made me take a nap. And then I woke up from that nap and then
That
I
nap
probably
was like, what, 2 days long?
that nap was probably
Like Rumpelstiltskin and
4
stuff. You
hours.
And
then I got back
That's
up and I
all you
got
needed
right
to
to
be
it.
refreshed and back to
And
work.
you just kept
Absolutely.
it going.
And I just kept going until I turned that script in. And I was so proud because I knew I was going to get that script in on time. I was like, phew, all right, it's done. Then I go back to work on the show that I was on. And I go to rehearsal on stage. And I take note of 2 of the director's chairs on stage. And our director's chairs for rehearsal used to have our names and our titles.
Right.
And I noticed that 2 white guys who had the same title that I had before I went off to rewrite this pilot for the studio had been promoted in my absence.
And
that
you've been
was,
gone how long?
I was gone for a week. I had 1 week off of the show. I had 2 weeks to rewrite the pilot, and I had 1 week off of the show.
Did they know why you had taken time off?
Absolutely.
And so you come back, and now
They slide
your names are
some
off,
oil.
and new names are
to
on.
My name is still there, but their titles have been elevated.
Mm. Mm.
Y'all
So-
want to know the cold truth, boy.
Wow.
So now I'm like,
Cold-blooded.
what am I supposed to take from this? Am I supposed to just be frustrated and disappear? Or am I going to use this frustration as fuel? I'm going to use it as fuel.
Come on.
So that's when I doubled down on my efforts
For sure.
and I met with Kim Fields
Okay.
because I'm like, if I get this made, I'm going to cast the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to cast it so perfectly. The chemistry is going to be just right. So
Mm-hmm.
I was already starting to figure out the balance. Like, what is the balance of energy? And the gift was that I already had,
Two
two
bosses,
two
people who
two
were-
bosses, 2
Yeah.
badasses, and I knew
Yeah.
what their energy was.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to figure out like how to create another magical ensemble like the one I came from on a
Because there
different
is
world.
a balance.
There absolutely is a balance. There's balance, there's symmetry. All of these things
symmetry.
are really important to
Mhm.
storytelling. And so I met with Kim Kim Fields in my office. She actually wanted to meet with me about a show that she wanted to do, kind of a Black Mad About You.
I remember you telling me that for the Regine character, I'm thinking of Kim Fields, and I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting," because now she's grown up. She's no longer Tootie. She started doing other roles and other things, and I was like, "This character is okay." You said no. This is going to be great, and
Tootie's all grown up.
Of course. But I didn't see her that. I saw her as this sweet little girl, and here she is, this vixen, and you told me she is so ready for this,
right? And that was me with my producer hat. Like,
wow,
I could see.
Now this is all while you're still waiting for them to give the final yes. So you're aligning all of your soldiers, all of your the whole experience.
Yeah. And then they now have the new script, and then they're like, they call me back pretty quickly.
Okay.
Because again, the window's closing. So we either have to do it or not do it. And they call me back and they say, we're going to shoot this.
What did you do that day? Because I know that day you were dancing with the streets.
I can't really say.
Did you flip the director's chairs with their names on it?
A certain boyfriend came to my office. How about that?
Oh!
So
come on, seal the deal. You scandal. You're a scandal.
You have to celebrate.
I understand
the way
this is a space for that.
Yes, it is indeed.
I hope so. So
then I did something which was a little interesting and bold, which was I asked Geraldine Leader, who was our casting director, the studio assigns a different casting director to every show, if I could sit on the pre-reads. Because usually the casting director will have pre-reads where they see different actors and then they'll decide who goes to producers. So there's several steps. I didn't want to miss anybody.
You wanted the whole...
I didn't want to miss anybody.
You didn't want them to, curate it and then give you this.
Exactly.
You didn't know who didn't make that cut.
While I trusted her, I wanted to trust her with me by her side. I totally trusted her, and she had terrific taste, and she helped us get so many great guest stars. And obviously,
Geraldine.
She found...
And her sister is Mimi Leader, the director.
Exactly.
So
and Geraldine, she's just
beautiful.
brilliant.
I remember how nice she was.
But I'm saying she was open to it. She could have said no.
Yeah.
By the way, little known fact, I actually had seen John in a showcase the year before, and I had asked for him to come in.
John came in L.A.?
Yes, and when he came in with that tool belt on, as he said here.
That story he tells, and he figured out you were... the Yvette Lee Bowser or Yvette Denise Lee that was on the list, and he said, I need to play to her.
Right. Okay. And then this amazing woman comes in, and I'm like, oh, that's her. Okay.
That's her.
Yeah.
And I don't.
It's all starting to make sense.
Remember.
You wouldn't know.
And then TC gave us a tape. He sent in a tape. He sent in a VHS, which I'm still digging for in my storage. I was hoping I could find it by today, but I don't have it. But he sent in a tape, and I was like, wow. Interesting. Because he was giving me so much Kyle Bowser energy, including that basso profundo.
Basso profundo.
That very
and
deep voice.
Sharp dresser and all the
just
things.
All of it. Just energetically, there was a lot there that felt like family.
Now you've gathered your actors. You have the green light from the studio. You're going to shoot this, and then we're
going to shoot this. Now we're going to cast this. Then they say, but you know what? You haven't done this yet. So... They sat me down with a very nice man, Tom Anderson, who's still my dear friend, and he was going to run the show with me. And he was like, I don't know about these women, but this is a terrific script. I didn't know him at all. We met in Les Moonves' office in Warner Brothers, and he said, sometimes these arranged marriages don't work. We're hoping this one does.
What was the match that they thought it would be a good thing for him to join you?
I can't really tell you, other than the fact that he had co-run Cheers the last few seasons.
Oh, that's no small
he was
thing.
Very funny. No, he's a very funny guy, very smart guy. And he seemed to be down for the assignment to guide an up-and-coming writer. And so he came into the process while we were actually taking all of the actors to Fox. He's from Ohio. He'd actually been a stand-up, so he had been on the comedy circuit with John Henton. So he walks in and he sees John Henton. He goes, "Don't mess this up, man."
Wow!
And that was his first day officially, like on the show, producing the show with me. Was when we were casting at Fox.
Yvette, before you came, we asked you for your top 5 Living Single episodes from season 1 that are most important personally or thematically. And so we'll use those markers to like take this season 1 journey with you. So
they made me choose between my babies.
They
made me choose.
With the pilot. Let's go.
It's time for the rewind, where we watch and relive Living Single with you.
I just came back from the newsstand. Flavor magazine is completely sold out. Your featured article was inspired, girl.
Dope title, huh? Dating Married Men, the sleeping dog that lies.
Well, sounds great. What's it about?
You're gonna have to read it.
Listen to WJAM, BJ Radio.
That's me.
Hey. That's your voice?
What's your voice? Where?
The announcer.
Oh, really?
We Jam Radio.
I didn't even know that.
On a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I got the month of
I love those pajamas so much.
Great.
That's where it started, right there, those two.
Why am I doing my
Look
booty?
at your butt. That butt is unnatural.
This is exactly how it was built, though. And then this one came.
There you go.
I've got the sweeter song, baby.
How nasty.
I could think of the germs.
That was your choice.
It was.
The toilet brush was not scripted by moi.
I made sure it was clean.
Dance.
It's so perfect.
What?
I love the slow motion that goes. That's why. Come on, Yvette Denise Lee. Roxy Wink Evans. Gosh, Lord, look at all these
Wow.
names.
Oh, wow.
So that's the pilot
Roxy.
from season 1, episode 101, Judging by the Cover. In it, Regine proudly brings home her new boyfriend, but Khadijah and Sinclair discovered he is married. As they struggle with how to tell her, we see the core friendships begin to take shape, mixing humor, honesty, and loyalty in a way that sets the tone for the entire series and begins to test your motto and theory about enviable female relationships.
Yes. You want to know where that pilot story idea came
Come
from?
on,
Dude,
let's
do
do this.
tell.
Let's do this. Tell us about creating the pilot, Judging by the Cover. That's what they just got a piece of.
When I was a little younger than when I was creating Living Single, my mother was dating a married man. And I had a lot of feelings around that. So
Oh,
this is a story
wow.
ripped right from my diary. And my approach to writing the show was kind of starting with me, obviously characters that also were infused with you guys, but me in conversation with myself about that topic. Like, how important is it to be in a relationship that you would kind of set your integrity and your morals aside to be with someone else's man? So that's what I was exploring personally and emotionally.
We didn't know that.
didn't
There's no way I would have known that was exactly out of your life. So thank you for
Absolutely.
being so generous.
I needed something quick. I needed
Yeah.
something real. I literally was like,
Wow.
yeah, I had a lot of feelings around that. That's going to give me lots of points of view. I've had to laugh through it to keep from crying.
And
I'm
you
gonna
must have
examine
known
that.
that people would resonate with that because that's a topic
Absolutely.
that people
Absolutely,
would. Okay,
because-
beautiful. Thank you.
But
was
also
real.
at the same time, you wouldn't have talked maybe more about it because your mother was alive at the time
Mhm.
and you would want to protect her and it's not going to come
And
out.
of course, we all know
later.
people who have dated people who were
Mhm.
married.
For sure.
And so again, the title was Judging by the Cover because I knew that when it was happening, I was feeling very judgmental about it.
For sure.
Of course.
Mm.
So I want to talk a little bit about you saying that you are the Maxine Shaw character and that on the page initially they said she's too strong. What did you do because it could have said get rid of her, but you wouldn't get rid of her because you've said so many times that this is you.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to incorporate her so powerfully and carve this special place for her?
So I had to trust my intuition that when I got the note back, before I had the 10 days, 2 weeks to rewrite the whole pilot, that Maxine Shaw character was a little strong on paper. And they asked me if I could get rid of that character. I said, to get rid of Max is to get rid of me, and I'd rather not do the show.
Shut it down.
But shut it down. But let me come up with
Was it-
something. I
Right.
was like, she's got her own bag. She can have her own apartment. She can live across the street.
Mm.
And then she's just going to come over and help herself to their clothes, their men, offer unsolicited advice. lots of commentary.
Save us some time.
Be the straw
mess us
that
up
stirs
sometimes.
Yes,
it
be
up.
the straw that
Right.
stirs
Yeah.
it up. And,
Yeah.
you know, she's going to have lots of great, you know, multicam comedy entrances where she comes barreling in and just takes over the space.
Which is actually a gift.
Oh, what? It must have
Now
been.
to this day, I
'Cause
can
you can
enter
come and
like
go.
no one's business.
And exit too, but also
but you
kind
were
of
doing it as like to save the character.
Yes, but also subliminally to say that we belong in any space we choose to occupy. So her choice to come across the street was very intentional and meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
What this sounds to me like is leadership. So what did you learn about
Absolutely.
leadership in creating this? And leadership not only of a show running, but leadership of yourself, to trust yourself. What did you learn about leadership that maybe you've even continued to use?
I really do feel that leadership is one of the more important qualities that any of us can have. Like you have to be the leader of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that particularly as a Black woman, I feel that we're here to lead. I really do. So I thought it was my responsibility to step up. I mean, as you know, we talked about Tom coming onto the show. And if you look at the credits, you'll notice that for the first 13, which is usually the initial order for a show, and then we're all working very feverishly, hoping to get that back 9. By the back, so he was an executive producer. My title was co-executive producer, even though we were running the show together. By the back 9, I was an executive producer.
I noticed that.
By
And
that
that
time, they
changed.
trusted you fully.
Right, because they
And you
saw that I
trusted
was doing the
yourself
work,
fully.
and I trusted myself.
Now, look, you're Maxine Shaw. Maxine Shaw's name. Let's deal with names now.
Maxine Shaw.
Right.
Maxine Waters and Nina Shaw.
And Nina Shaw. Let's go with
And
that.
who's Nina Shaw?
So Nina Shaw is
Nina Shaw is my attorney and has been my
pioneering
attorney since
entertainment
1992.
attorney.
Yes, absolutely.
Badass.
Yeah.
And so there's her last name and Maxine Shaw.
And Maxine Waters. Exactly.
That's
Perfect.
I
so
was obviously, a lot of Kim was in Sinclair.
Yes.
I mean, all the characters are amalgamations of individuals that I know.
Yes.
In this case, Sinclair and Khadijah are
Because-
amalgamations of myself plus them plus
But you
some
also know
other
another
people that I
Sinclair, not Sinclair.
I
just happened
know-
to be your
I-
manager, but
There's
your
a
Sinclair.
playwright that I worked with on A Different World. Her name is Judy Ann Mason. Her daughter's name was Mason Sinclair. And I just thought that was the most beautiful name and a tribute to my friend Judy Ann,
For
who's
sure.
departed.
You're very intentional about the names, very spiritual about the names. So tell us about
Right.
Khadijah, the names. At least we talk about Sinclair, but Khadijah.
But Khadijah's a leader. Khadijah's a first. And my friend Khadijah Muhammad. And Muhammad, the prophet, his wife was Khadijah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
this is so regal and it's so right. And
It's
she is
early
the first.
born, it's trustworthy,
Ladies first.
respected.
Right.
It was what Latifah
Right.
was.
Early
but-
born is first, is
First.
another way of saying first.
Okay.
So I'm like, ladies first. I'm listening to the ladies first on a loop.
Yes.
I'm like, when she
yes.
said that to me that day, like, I'm not sure about that name. I
You
was
said,
like, no, I'm sure.
let it cook.
marinate.
Let it
I'm
cook.
sure,
Let
but
it
I'm not.
marinate.
Yeah,
but,
yeah,
that-
let
but
it-
that's
let it
also how do
marinate.
you lead? Do you say, let it cook, let it marinate? Like
Mm.
you don't say, no, if this is the name, I'm creating the show. You say, let's let it rise. See if you feel the same
And now
way.
She can't imagine
Because
being
she was
named
hearing the
anything
name
else.
for the first time.
All right. So we got to get on our way
Right.
and watch this next episode.
You know, I have to be honest with you. I was a little unsure about coming over here. It could have been a little uncomfortable, but you guys
but
have
baby,
been...
I knew it wouldn't be. Because everybody's happy with who they are. I got my woman. Max has her man. I'm in the starting lineup again. And Max, you'll get where you want to be someday.
Someday? Baby, you didn't tell him. My girl just made partner.
Well, okay. Was I surprised when that happened?
And the first African-American woman ever. Because you know that Claire Huxtable wasn't real.
And then let me tell you, Max is being groomed for the Supreme Court, okay? Has a meeting with Clarence Thomas next week. To Max!
To Max! Enough! This is crazy. Greg, Kyle is not my boyfriend. I'm not a partner at my firm. I've never been anywhere near Paris. But none of this is reason enough for my friends to sit here trying to make my life seem better than it is by lying to you.
This is episode 104, A Kiss Before Lying, when Max's ex-boyfriend, Greg, who ghosted her without a word and packed his little raggedy duffel bag, as I recall,
For sure.
calls unexpectedly and invites her to dinner. She accepts despite Khadijah's concerns. The twist, he's bringing along his new fiance. Ooh, we had so much fun on this
Yeah,
one.
I had
There's
fun
so
on
much.
this
So
one,
much
too.
fun.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
So this is,
based on, again, your diary.
That's right. Inspired by your own diary. So what's it like telling a story about your ex that's all entirely pulled out of your diary?
Incredibly cathartic and so much fun. So much fun. So much fun. And this was the first episode that was really kind of top to bottom my story. Like, and of course, Robert and Danny did a fabulous job writing the draft. We talked about it in details, but it was a really, I would say, exciting room process to talk about that and to see what would we pick from this story. But also, I loved how we were able to really pull out some of the very intentional things that were set up in the pilot. Because remember, more than once in the pilot, Max says, packed his raggedy duffel bag and left. So to be able to water those seeds that had been planted, I was like, we're doing it. We're really doing it. We're doing it at a very high level.
And there's something that Robert Horn talked about when he came and did the show that I thought was really powerful. He talked about her integrity. And in this moment, she could have continued to play like Kyle is my man and everything's fine, but she stopped it all to go, actually, this is not the truth. And these friends are all building me up to make my life better than it is. And it actually is really good. And I just love that you infused her with that integrity. Can you talk about that?
That's exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to be who we really are. We have to live our truth. And that's what I've done in television for the last 38 years, is literally just be vulnerable and tell my truth, but also be proud of who I am. And, to try to create characters, I think, that present us not as perfect, but at least maybe striving for something that feels like our highest selves.
Right.
And I think those people who are striving for their highest selves more often than not lean into integrity as a real important quality.
And there's so much to play with there that he was willing to, even though they had been sniping at each other, he was willing to come along for
and
the
care
ride
for her,
and
take care for her. Which was, again, those guys were there to support and take care of those ladies and to love on those ladies in various ways, from the platonic to the romantic.
He was also a demon. Don't try to build him up. Stop playing. He was smacking her ass and all that. I mean, but that's it's cathartic for you, but you have a real boyfriend who understands that. What did that boyfriend think about this episode?
What did my boyfriend? What did my
ex-boyfriend?
Oh, he loved seeing himself.
Oh, really?
He loved seeing himself. To this day, he will call me and say, "Oh, was that me in this show?" And I'm like,
"No,
boy, you're so vain. I bet you think this story's about you."
I bet you think this story's about. And listen, you chose a handsome, amazing actor to play him. So he should
delicious.
He should.
But we have fun like that.
Okay, so and you're still in touch with
we're
this
still
guy.
friendly, sure.
So no regrets. Any regrets about the boyfriend?
No.
Because it taught you something.
No, exactly. I mean, throughout my life and throughout my storytelling, I try to turn, adversity into advantage. And I did spend some number of years with him thinking he was the one. And then he packed his raggedy duffel bag and left. But it isn't exactly true. That's the comic version of it. What really happened was that something happened in his career that I knew didn't go the way he wanted it to go. And I could tell that emotionally he wasn't going to be up to the task of being in a relationship. And so I knew it was I knew it was over.
Oh,
were you heartbroken past the thing? It was a real relationship.
I was heartbroken, and I invested a lot of time, a lot of love,
Trauma.
But I was hopeful that there was something else, and there was.
Sure enough, there was.
Sometimes you gotta let it go so the new thing can come in.
After that, I met a Morehouse man on our reconnaissance trip for a different world. I dated him and many others, which have played out in episodes. Like when Khadijah is
more diary.
That diary is on
fire. The creator
fire.
of the show may have had a couple windows of time where she was juggling guys. So.
Listen, why wouldn't you? Look at
Hot
you.
Thing, girl at 21. Kim, I do everything out of my car. I do everything. It's my office, it's my studio, it's my nap pod.
And shockingly not where we're recording this podcast.
Don't spoil season 2. Oh, but seriously, I take my calls, I write scripts, I do table reads, all from the car.
I know. I do the same thing. My car is like my home. Just with better acoustics and less judgment. I don't sing.
I do. And that's why your car can't just be functional. It has to fit your whole vibe.
That's right. And Lexus understood the assignment. I mean, I'm talking about the LX. Woo! Luxury to the max. There's pour wood trim, massaging seats, and wait a minute, retractable ottoman.
Come on. A whole ottoman, y'all. Come on. Plus it's hybrid, so it's smart, sustainable, and the storage. Chef's kiss. I even have a table for writing.
And it's a rolling sanctuary that helps you move through life with excellence.
And you know, Lexus has always been excellent, even back in the 90s, just like us.
Because that's the standard of amazing. The holidays are here, and that means company's coming. But don't you worry, Wayfair's got you covered. From cozy linens and extra seating to festive decor and cookware, well, they've got everything you need to make your home shine. And right now, you can score up to 70% off during Wayfair's Black Friday sale. Now, I got to tell you, I went a little far down the Wayfair rabbit hole the other night. I don't want you to judge me, but let me tell you, the selection is fantastic. From sofas to spatulas, they've got it all. I was bookmarking cozy throws and bold accent chairs and the cutest serveware that will make my sweet potato pie look extra fancy. And the best part? Well, Wayfair ships fast and easy and even on the big stuff, so your space can be holiday ready in no time. Now, what I love about Wayfair is that nothing feels cookie cutter. They've got styles you won't find anywhere else, so your home feels uniquely you. Plus, if you join their new loyalty program, well, you get 5% back on every purchase, free shipping, and special member-only sales. Now, that's what I call some holiday cheer. I don't want you to miss out on the early Black Friday deals. So head to wayfair.com now and shop Wayfair's Black Friday deals for up to 70% off. Ooh, that's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. I think we should go shopping.
You ever want something but just don't have the time to devote to it?
Do I? This magazine has become my whole
Ooh,
life.
you pushing up.
Not much time for anything else.
You pushing up.
But I guess it's been worth the sacrifice. We made it.
Yep, pretty much got everything we wanted, didn't we?
At the job.
Almost.
What was that?
Okay,
She always,
I know.
she always gets soft with it. Okay. And then my clothes fell off.
And the camera pushes in. Wow, that was from Just Friends, episode 109, where Khadijah reconnects with her childhood friend Scooter, and their friendship unexpectedly shifts into a romantic territory after they spend time together. She worries that the intimate moment might jeopardize their long-standing bond.
Yes. I love
Did
it
that
so
happen
much.
to you? You was up there getting it on in the office? Come on.
No, I'm
Okay.
not suggesting. Well, didn't I kind of? No.
You too many
Not with
to
a friend.
count.
But friends
Like
to
that.
lovers is
Okay.
the theme
That's
here.
the truth.
And
So
hasn't
one of the
happened-
That's
things we do as writers is we look at the world and we come up with a series of creative what ifs. And I certainly had my fair share of really close male friends that I inquired about, at least in my mind, and might have kissed once or twice,
Mhm.
but never really had a close friend become my lover
Mhm.
like that.
Okay.
But I have had Kyle's my best friend.
Yeah.
Kyle Bowser's my best friend. So
I don't know how you have
but
the
I
time.
think it started out like it did, but it definitely started out as romantic interest.
Mhm.
We became friends
Mhm.
and lovers.
How do you have the time to be dating like this in offices and getting down with folks left and right?
I'm a multitasker.
Or the object of
I love it.
desire.
The object of desire.
Listen.
But I mean,
love it.
I think, I was a good planner.
I guess.
Mhm.
And I planned my social life, and I pulled a lot of late nighters with my work and made time for my social life. If you don't have a life, I think it's hard to write about a life that resonates with other
That
people.
Maybe that's the Gemini in you that you needed to
I was about to
create
say the
this
sign.
separate. Maybe
You have
it's
to create that space. But
Yeah.
I will tell you another little hack that I had back in the day.
Do tell.
What?
Was that there were times when I would go into that creative cave and I might not, really hang out for a few months.
Mhm.
And then I would throw a spectacular cookout or a party. And that would hold people over for a while.
Right. Like bring them to me. Bring all
Well,
of my
but
friends.
they remembered the fun they had.
Right.
And they were like, and then I'm
And they felt
being attentive to my guests.
great.
We had
idea.
the best time. And that would hold them over until the next big
So you go back
blowout.
into the cave and come back out again. That's a great idea. Bring all the fun.
I would
to
have
me,
at
please.
least 2 or 3 big parties.
That's
But
a
you
good
know
idea.
what? That I think women especially need to be reminded that you don't have to wait for someone to come to you. You can invite people in.
Absolutely.
And on your terms. So I think that that's powerful.
And I am a girlfriend's girlfriend.
Mhm.
So my girlfriends were incorporated into my work.
Okay.
You know, like we would literally go out and be social, and that's part of the work.
Okay.
Right? And then we go home and
Right.
and they knew it.
Okay.
They all knew
So
it.
not me.
And we
That's how
treasure
you
the time we have together.
We
We're
got
learning
another
so much.
episode. We got another
We're learning so
episode.
Let's do another episode. There's even more.
There's more.
I'm gonna go and shave.
Good idea. Overton, we have a bathroom for that.
You know, it's funny how every household has their own rules.
But your hand. That physical comedy.
Obi in the bathtub.
Oh, here it is.
Bugs
I
Bunny.
love the little cuts. Foot.
Yes.
Look at Dana's legs. Gorgeous.
Shower cap on the cap.
I love that he has a scrubby
That
and a loofah.
was episode 111, which happens to be my birthday and one of my favorites too. The Naked Truth. When Overton and Kyle have a heated disagreement, Overton temporarily moves in with the girls. His presence quickly begins to drive them a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and up the wall. And things get even more awkward when he accidentally sees Khadijah naked in the buff.
It's a buff.
Wow. So can I just say, when John was here, we watched this episode together, and he talked about a moment that he had with the looking at it like, and that you all discussed, well, no, let's take out this ogling, this little sexual moment, because it was not sexual. It was just two friends seeing each other in this state that they shouldn't. So can you talk about, do you remember that moment of him?
100%.
Okay, so talk
100%.
about that, if you don't mind.
More things that people don't know.
See?
Well, what people don't realize is, just like the development process where there are people at various levels, there are people at various levels in the process for every episode.
Of course.
And they get to see cuts before the world sees the cuts, and someone thought that was too salacious. And we're like, this is not a hill I'm going to die on.
No. Okay.
Not worth it. Not worth it. But it's interesting because I have been watching and enjoying the show, and John's saying, oh, there's all this stuff that's really hilarious that doesn't end up in the show. And it's interesting because I feel like certainly my responsibility was to make sure that what I felt were the very best takes were in the show. And I think by and large they are. But then there is this process where the show goes to syndication, and someone else who has not worked on the show goes through and takes more snippets out of the show. So the episodes that you're seeing now are not even the episodes that you could watch in real time when the show aired. So there were like more laughs that and there were more jokes and more moments. I watch the show, to rewatch it every now and then, and I'm like, oh, that whole moment is missing. But I know that moment was there in my cut, and it was there when it originally aired.
Wow.
Is it cut for time?
It's cut for time. It's cut for marketability and playable because when you sell it in syndication and it plays in these local markets, they're selling more commercial time.
For sure.
And so they cut the episodes down.
There is a constant sort of not watering down, like a sieve. Like the show gets, we get this script, we rehearse it, we do it, and then there's the network and the production company, and there's all these things.
Right.
And so here you are holding the entire process, and like you just said, it was so powerful. There were hills that you had to decide whether or not you were willing to die on. Are there hills that you like, no, I'm standing, my flag is in the dirt, and I will not budge on this? Is there any moment like that?
There are plenty of moments like that.
Something that you'd be willing to share?
There's something that I think you want me to talk about that we haven't talked about.
It's not on the cards. It just was like...
No, but you mentioned it.
Oh.
The annual call and concern about weight.
Oh.
Look at me, people. I'm a woman of a particular size. I've been high and I've been not what would be considered low in terms of my weight. So this was not something that I co-signed. And it was a battle that I was waging behind the scenes. And I was absolutely told, well, if they don't lose weight, then we need to write it in. And I absolutely refused to. So
thank you.
Where you heard that threat that's going to write fat jokes. I'm like, no, they ain't.
Wow.
They're not writing fat jokes. They're not writing fat storylines. They're not writing any of that nonsense.
From me and every other curvy girl, thank you for that. And I said on that show that when we did it here is that, crudely, one of my male friends said, well, there's not one man in America that would kick any of y'all out of bed. But thank you for that.
Thank you for your patience with the process, because it is a process.
Yeah. And
unless we want to shoot everything independently, there are people that we have to listen to. And going back to the leadership question, when you're a showrunner, you have to manage laterally with your partners that you're working with in the trenches. You have to manage upward for the people who are paying the bills, and you have to manage all the people who work for you. So it's a big job. It's a lot of accountability. And so you hope that you get grace from everywhere in the production, because without it, it's hard to survive. It's a hard job. It's a hard job. I love it. I embrace it. I feel like this is what I'm purposed to do. Which is why I'm still doing it.
That's why you're still doing it.
That's why I'm still doing it. Because I feel like I do it with a certain amount of ease and authenticity and naturalness. So it's what I love to do.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, this episode gives us insight into the dynamic between the living single men. We have Kyle and Overton. Why is it important to showcase their relationship in this way? Because you're talking about enviable male relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, again, friendship is so central to the premise of Living Single, how our friends are, kind of like central and essential to life. My friends are. And at this point, which is pretty early in the show, I really felt like TC and John and Kyle and Overton as characters really deserved to take up more space, and that it was important for us to have a better understanding of how their friendship operated, and also to see kind of just the juxtaposition of how men handle their squabbles or skirmishes, as opposed to women. So I thought that was really fun and important to do at this point, and to give them more of a showcase. And it was really hilarious.
Yes, but fans also were surprised when Overton moved out instead of Kyle.
Yeah.
So
because it was Kyle's apartment. Overton,
It was?
after his girlfriend Melody, I think, broke up with him. I think we covered this in season 2 or 3. I don't remember, because y'all, I'm old and it's been a while. So yes, it was his apartment. If you look at the decor,
It is true.
Very much
it
so.
was Kyle's
That's true.
apartment,
Oh,
and
I never
Overton.
thought
Kyle
about
had
it.
lived in New York before Overton.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Khadijah invited Sinclair to come from Minneapolis to live with her, Kyle had invited his heartbroken buddy Overton to come live with him in New York.
Wow.
I think there was an assumption
was
that
Kyle's
since he was
apartment.
the building super, that
Well,
it
he
was
got
his
a job
apartment.
too.
Right, and
That's
he got a
hookup.
job.
That is a friend
I got
hooking
hook
up
up
a
and
friend.
ding,
But also
ding, ding,
Overton
ding,
was also like Khadijah. He was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Which again, it's like people don't necessarily, they think, oh, he's a handyman, he's blue collar. But yes, but he's a business owner.
That's true.
He's a business
We got
owner.
another thing to get to. Burglar in the house.
Shh. Y'all hear that?
What?
That noise.
I think I heard it. That's my stomach growling from that damn diet food.
No, that's definitely from downstairs.
There it goes again.
Oh, suck it.
What are we gonna do?
All right, call Kyle. Call Kyle. Call Overton. Call 911.
Three Stooges.
Yes.
Now what? Okay, now the smart thing to do is just stay up here until they leave.
Oh, gosh.
I can't take it no more. Give me my new chuck from under the bed.
Get my new chucks.
I love this.
That's leadership. I'll take the lead.
Go get it.
Badass.
So New Orleans.
That's right.
I'm going down.
Shoot, I ain't sitting up here by myself. Come on, girl, grab something.
I love this line so much.
Oh, so funny.
Oh, that's really good, Sinclair. What are you gonna do, huh? Beat him down with isotoners?
Well, what are you gonna do? Hit him with the Bible?
Over and over again.
Over again. Burglar in the house. Regine
Startling.
gets mugged. and fears the thief now knows where they live, throwing the whole household into a spiral of anxiety. Overton changes the locks, but the women still resort to cheap, makeshift security tricks like fake alarms and guard dog cans. Later, a late night scare has them arming themselves with whatever's at hand, only to find an actual intruder in the kitchen. By the end, Overton installs a real alarm system and window bars, finally putting everyone at ease. But the sirens wail, and we know that they'll never be the same.
Never be the same. This episode is touching on a lot of weightier things: crime, security, protection, all those things. How did you decide to write in those types of issues into a series? It's a comedy series, and sometimes when it's done, it can be like very special, different
Very special.
strokes.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
single.
you did it well, and
Well,
so why?
It could be cheesy, but it
I
wasn't.
grew up on a show where we dared to be topical.
Yeah.
And so even though we were on a different kind of network and Fox had their own brand of comedy, I was determined to deliver my brand of comedy, which is comedy with social commentary. And also it was important to, early in the series, establish that their universe is bigger than this living room where most of the action plays out.
Nice.
And that, they are impacted by the ills and of the city.
So in that three walls, there's a serenity, but this is violence colliding and sort of reminding us that they don't live in sort of a utopia.
Exactly.
That there's New York outside. And also, it was the 90s.
Right. But also, see how they're there for each other. True blue. Tight like glue.
Tight like glue.
That's true.
In that last scene where Max has gone home and then they get a call and she's like, no, you don't need to come over. And she's like, okay, we'll be here.
I love it.
She's
I
coming
love it.
over.
Delivered beautifully.
I love
by
it so much.
Latifah.
I also love Warden.
Oh, that Warden. I can't get out.
Good
Can we
fun.
talk about a dog in a can? And I don't know if you
Doberman
remember
in a can.
Doberman in a can.
Which would have been easier to say than guard
Yes.
dog
Thank
in a
you. Who
can.
wrote
Yeah, that's a $1 million idea.
Doberman in a can.
It is,
How did that
it is.
come?
I should have
How did that come? Do you
copywritten
remember
it.
that
Yeah.
Dana and I really wanted to do the sound effects ourselves? We actually fought.
The
We were like-
barking.
the barking. We were, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." We fought. Do you remember that? That we were like, please let us do it. Like,
I don't recall it, but
Okay.
it sounds right.
Yeah.
It sounds absolutely
It sounds right.
I
It sounds
trust you.
loopy.
where did Doberman in a can come from?
It's just some silly thing I made up. It's just
Y'all,
Because we didn't have money. Maybe we didn't think we had money to protect ourselves, and like dog in a can,
Doberman in a can. Exactly.
Would be the
Yeah.
perfect thing.
Well,
to
when Becky and I were writing it at my house, the one that you visited,
have.
we were just thinking, like, those of us who are gun-averse, what are some good things that might be helpful to us to have?
Ah,
And that's where Doberman in a can came from.
wow. So you gave us nunchucks, which is so East Coast. I don't know. Were you all doing nunchucks on the West Coast?
Absolutely.
So that she was able to, pull that out, and that you were gun averse. This is what you decided to come up with.
Exactly. And there's
Wow.
nothing like a good Bible beat down. So get beat down with a good book.
And it was a big,
That'll
thick
take
one
you out.
too.
It was.
Wow.
Yes.
I love it.
By
I love it.
request.
And an isotoner.
Isotoner.
Welcome to The Reverb, brought to you by Lexus.
This is where we reflect, connect, and talk about how the show's themes still echo in the culture.
Because just like our stories, Lexus keeps raising the bar.
Ah, that's the standard of amazing.
Thank you, by the way, because I think you managed to not only write a sitcom, but the ultimate love mixtape for not only the 90s, but also into the 2000s. It really shaped and created what you call for the culture, the blueprint and the way to go. And I know you took a lot of hits, and I know that you've carried a lot, because the first always carries a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we love you for that. And
Thank you.
You
I love
mentored.
you.
We love. Thank you, love.
Love you back.
You told us about your stories. Your diary is in this. Living single, all of that. But we really don't know where you come from, which people would be surprised, because here you are so suave, bola, and all that, and really beautiful. Very
Don't
well
let the
spoken.
Dolce
all that.
Gabbana fool
Well, you
you.
went to Stanford and all
I'm
that.
from the hood.
I know.
I'm from the project.
Well, let's talk about that, because people see you at Stanford, they don't know how you got there, and I think that you need to tell us a little bit of where
Right.
you come from.
Well, I'm originally from Philadelphia.
Come on.
My mother and my father moved here in 1970 when I was 5 years old. I sang Do You Know the Way to San Jose the whole way here. We were headed nowhere near San Jose.
They wanted to
We
get rid
landed
of
in
you.
Los Angeles, where we then proceeded to be a little housing insecure, a little transient.
Homeless.
For many years, near homeless.
Mhm.
I remember very clearly as a second grader walking home to the motel where we were currently staying, wondering if we were going to stay inside or outside.
And my family lived in this hotel called Starlight, and your
Right.
family.
We lived in what was La Brea Motel, but is now called the Starlight
Hotel. And I see that driving
on
past
Washington and La Brea.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to have that background and to have that daily uncertainty, but then through work ethic in school and setting goals for myself academically and professionally, I made it to Stanford University. Was one of the first Black students to go from my public high school to Stanford University.
But your mother
and then to graduate.
also, your mother and father, she was a cigarette girl?
My mother was a cigarette girl in Atlantic City at one point. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And that's where they met. It's where my mother told me they were married, but what I found out recently was were not married until 1970 so they got married on the way from Philadelphia to Hollywood.
So what was your
to
father
Los
doing
Angeles.
there in Atlantic City? Is where he's from?
My
Oh,
father's from Philadelphia.
Right,
That's
right.
a whole other story for
I see.
another
That's a
movie
whole
or
nother
series.
thing. Okay.
My
So
dad.
that's where they met.
I
They go
touched on it
across.
on a show called Unprisoned a little bit, but
Okay.
my
okay.
daddy was a Rolling Stone, much like Khadijah's character's father.
Oh.
Right. So I have half siblings from that relationship, but also I just felt like, to come from there to have an opportunity to tell my story from various points of view in Hollywood was really a privilege and a gift. That when you have a gift, I think you have an obligation to share it.
You an only child?
I'm my mother and father's only child.
Got it.
Absolutely. My mother had miscarriages before me. I was a twin. My mother miscarried my twin, and my mother had miscarried a boy after me. So I am the lone survivor. So you can't have that origin story and not think that you are
make
here
some-
for
I
a
think
very
your twin is
specific
with you.
purpose. Absolutely.
I really do.
Absolutely.
Twin and Gemini too.
Yeah. Your twin is with you.
And I always have other twins in my life, in my close circle of
Do
life.
you feel that your twin is with you?
I do. I do.
I get it now.
I do.
I think a little bit.
You get it now?
I do.
You get it now. And when I'm writing these characters, then and now, but particularly on Living Single, I'm watching scenes now, at your request, and I'm remembering being in conversation with myself and my own points of view, wrestling with each other and bouncing off of each other. And I think, I do consider myself a very good writer. And I think the very best of us are in constant conversation with ourselves, and also constantly questioning ourselves and being, incredibly vulnerable and open on the page. And I would make myself cry. If the scene I'm writing doesn't make me cry, then it's not going to make anyone else
That's
cry.
how I feel.
If it doesn't make me laugh, it's not going to make
That's why I
you laugh.
said, if you're bored,
Right.
then they're bored.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's interesting because multicam as a form was like the ultimate litmus test as to whether or not the audience was going to feel what you intended for them to feel or laugh. We have a lot of great shows now that are single cameras, and many of them are single cam comedies, and there's no audience. And I think they're not as funny. They're not as funny because you're just like, yeah, I think that's funny. And that's what we're going to shoot, and that's what we're going to air. When that audience is there, they will let you
You
know.
got to earn your keep.
They
I've
will
always
let you
thought
know.
that the audience actually becomes another character.
Absolutely.
And you begin to, I wouldn't say rely on them, but you come to
feed off of them.
You feed off
right?
of them.
You
And you
feed
come
off
to
of them.
expect
They give
to
you rhythm
give
and you give it back.
and they
give
give
you
us
love,
things
you
that we
give it
didn't even
back.
know were on the page, and holding for laughs and playing it for them and them richly loving what we're giving them and saying we're going to give this back to you.
I think what Fox Network did was they scheduled us in what they consider a hammock time slot, for a news show. They wanted to protect us in between Martin and Married with Children, first season.
That's right.
Right. So as a new show, they predict that the ratings, they expect the ratings to like sag a little. That's why they call it a hammock time slot. Well, from night one, we were the Golden Arch.
Come on. What does that mean, the Golden Arch?
That means that we built on the numbers for Martin.
So
built
he did
from
certain numbers, and then we also
we had
built on
higher
it. So we didn't
ratings.
not only
We had
lose,
higher
we
ratings.
raised numbers.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And so you're the goose that laid the golden egg at that point.
We are the geese. We are the
No,
geese.
but I mean, we're the geese. But I'm saying now there's a really good feeling like we made the good bet and you're on your way.
So beyond our ratings and our success, and we were number this and we were number that, Living Single gave Black creatives proof that their stories mattered and that they mattered in the mainstream, and gave networks understanding that they mattered, they could be hits.
And that being in Black business could be being in the green business.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about being in the Black business and the green business.
Yeah, but it also shifted the conversation about how in writer's room and executive offices about who could run and lead a show.
100%. I think Susan Fales and Winifred Hervey were two Black women that I know who ran shows before me. They did not create those shows, which is kind of the only difference. But seeing a young Black woman who singularly and by herself creates and then runs a show, I think really did kind of provide a path for them to consider other young, unproven creator showrunners. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm clearly not sitting here in front of you as the first Black student to integrate the University of Mississippi, but there was definitely an unpaved road.
But
it was unpaved. There was no asphalt. There were no lampposts.
That person.
There was no me to call.
That's real. When I say your twin is working, if you looked at you and said, you seem like you would be so run down from all the sort of things that you had to do, because show running is no joke, but you've got energy like you've got someone else's energy in you. And I do believe that you're powered from another dimension.
I think you're right.
I'll be honest. That's right.
No, because I do feel like, I feel like, again, my steps have been divinely ordered. And I feel like when the universe pours so much into you, which is how I feel, then you pour out. It's easy to pour it out. It really is. It really is. And when your career and your life continue to fill you up, like, what do you do with all of that fullness?
Not everyone does what you've done. Not everyone does it. They hoard it for themselves.
They just think differently and move differently than I.
There you go.
Gift that keeps giving. Yvette Lee Bowser for the culture. Yes, let's go to True Blue.
I learned so many things from my time on Living Single, working for Yvette. I had to pick one. Long before people were using the terms diversity and equity, Yvette created the most diverse, inclusive room I've ever worked in. She encouraged all of us to bring our voices and our experiences to the room and merge them with her vision. And I think that's one of the reasons that the show was so universal and specific at the same time. And I know I said I was going to do only one thing, but I have a second thing. Which is that Yvette also taught me never to settle, that you can always make a joke or a line for a story better and more surprising. And finally, my question, Yvette, if you had to pick one person to bring to a lesbian bridal shower, who would that be?
The one person I would bring to a lesbian bridal shower is Becky Hartman Edwards, of course. She was my date. She was my girl in that episode.
That's right. They're referencing the episode where Max finds out that one of her best friends, the Carolina White, who played my best friend, did not know that she was a lesbian, and she ends up finding out at basically her wedding and bride. And you two were extras.
We were guests.
You were guests.
We were a
your
couple.
own show.
And we decided on the fly in that moment, we're going to play that we're a couple. And we were terrible.
And so you can now look at it and
we have no business on camera. You guys, thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well done. Okay, make sure to follow us on all our socials at Reliving Single Podcast, and listen and watch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you've already watched all the way through, so I won't tell you to watch all the way through, but
but you should.
Thank you, Yvette, so much for making your life a living vision for the community. Thank you. And for us. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure for the culture.
More to come, I hope. Wink.
She's not done yet.
Reliving Single is hosted by me, Erica Alexander.
And me, Kim Coles.
Reliving Single is a production of Heartbeat in association with Color Farm Media.
Executive produced by Kevin Hart, Jeff Clanagan, Eric Eddings, Leslie Guam, Erica Alexander, and Ben Arnon.
The show is produced by Kim Coles.
Amber Watson is our senior producer.
Our associate producer is Kenny Jackson.
Our other associate producer is Electra Telesford.
Our sound engineers are Eric Hicks and Cedric Wilson.
Production supervision by Razak Boykin and Brett Calkins.
Additional production support from Alex Atkins and Z. Taylor.
Special thanks to BK Augustine and Dr. E.J. Johnson.